Live from the Mighty Veedverks Airship, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Verks Unlimited, Limited, better known as Veedverks.
And I'm Julie Richardson, Director of Commercialization and Promotions. And we have with us Jim Barry with Mile High
Cleaner.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're playing Dre Gaines in the background, and you can go check out Dre's music, and also go to Grassroot Greens in Oklahoma City and pick up some awesome CBD products there. Can't believe I messed up that transition again. But we did get right at the last second, we got on Skype sorry about that. We got on Skype Brian from Lisa Calderon's Denver mayoral campaign, and we did this at the last second, so sorry about all the confusion here, but we should be good to go. And I think since we've got Brian here, we're going to go straight to him, and let's talk about Lisa Calderon. So, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Good morning.
Hi.
Good afternoon, I should say.
Afternoon now, yeah. It seems like we have a time-critical thing going on here for the campaign for Denver mayor, so could you just go for it. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, so we're live here down in Rhino right now. It's a chilly day in Denver. We had a bomb cyclone hit us yesterday, and with 32 days left before the election, we are reaching out and seeking volunteers. There's a lot of people who aren't aware that the election is in May this year. And for the first time ever, Denver voters are going to be getting their ballots by mail to be able to mail them in before the May election date. So in most all previous elections, people would only vote on May 7th. But this year we're going to the mail-in system just like we've been doing for a state for several years. Most people don't know that election's happening, though, and that Lisa is one of 9 candidates running to be the new mayor in the city of Denver. We're looking for those volunteers, people to want to go out into their neighborhoods to reach people in their community and who aren't exactly happy with the way things have been running for the last 8 years.
I'm messing around with some technology. Keep going. So you're talking to a largely a cannabis type of audience right now. So could you talk to us about cannabis a little bit? We had the previous mayor, we passed Initiative 300, and we saw 2 years of nothing on that. And it seemed like the previous mayor was anti-cannabis in general. Or the current mayor, right?
Sure, Hancock.
Yeah.
And I'm not really our policy guy, but I will tell you that Lisa believes that there's a lot of things that have been happening in our community that are not transparent, and whether it's moving in the direction of decriminalization, something that's been on the record, an issue recently that we've the city's gone for. But it's not really a a cleaning of the record, right? It's just a sealing of records. So I think that Lisa's a big supporter
of expungement. You mean
of expungement, yeah. Right? For low-level crimes, and that she's going to be soon to be coming out with a policy statement on that. But she did get the Colorado State NORML endorsement, which was announced on Tuesday, which was her birthday. So that was a big deal. The state of Colorado NORML offices have endorsed Lisa. Many people know that she's been an advocate in the community for roughly a decade. She was in the nonprofit sector helping work on reentry into the community with our incarcerated populations, and she spent more than 30 years now advocating and as a social justice reformer in the Denver community. So whether it's the war on drugs, whether it's policies and laws that disproportionately affect minority communities. Lisa's been outspoken to ensure that the policies in our community are not a put people in jail first and ask questions later kind of process.
I like those kinds of policies.
Well, thank you. And so, whether, the reason that I reached out, we know that there's a lot of people wondering, how do I get involved, right? You might see ads, or you might be hearing things going on in the Denver community, especially yard signs starting to pop up all over. And a lot of people, might have an hour or two to give. It might be cold and they want to make some phone calls, or they're really excited about the spring weather and getting out to talk to their neighbors and help to be part of an active change that is civil defense, right? If we don't know and communicate with our neighbors and our community about the issues and what's going on, then we can't complain when there's a lack of change. So I'm seeking for volunteers to come join us in helping Lisa become our next mayor, so that we have a advocate's progressive voice in office to help really solidify some of the things that we need to in our community.
Well, there you go, Canna fam. Lisa Calderon, elections in May, and if you want to get out and help, I've got you linked here in the description. You're free to post anything that you want about how people can contact you, and then we'll be talking to you again soon.
Sure. If I can just give you real quick, my email is Brian, BRIAN, at Lisa, the number 4, denvermayor.org. And of course, people can go look at our website, which is lisa4denvermayor.org, and learn about her policy, and some mayoral debates coming up, including one on Saturday, that people can come check out and hear her talking points, the issues that she's focused on, and get a chance to meet her.
Outstanding. Do you know any jokes?
Do I know any jokes? Wow, I cannot tell you. You know what? I do know a joke. So nice. a pastor, a Catholic priest, a Methodist pastor, and a rabbi are out fishing, and they're the first Catholic priest is like, they're out there in the middle of the water, and he's like, "Oh man, we're running low on bait. I need to go and get some." So he asks the other two guys to steady the boat. He steps out onto the water and he walks to shore, and he goes and gets some bait, and he comes back in, walks back into the boat, and they're continuing to fish. And of course the pastor, the Methodist priest, and the Methodist and the Catholic have been doing this for a while, so they kind of have a little smile between the two of them. And a little time goes by. The Methodist preacher says, "I'm really hungry. I think we need lunch." So he goes, gets out of the boat and walks onto shore, grabs the cooler that they had left in the truck, and walks back out to the boat, and they're eating lunch. And the rabbi, he's, after a little bit, he's like, "I'm a little thirsty. We're low on water. I'll go out and get some water." And so the other two steady the boat for him, and he gets out of the boat, and he promptly falls in to the water. And the other two look at each other and say, "Do you think we should have told them about the rocks?" That's all I got.
All right, cool. All right, thanks, Brian Loma. Lisa Calderon for mayor. Lisa for mayor, number 4.org. Not 3, 4. Lisa for denvermayor.org. You can reach Brian at lisa4denvermayor.org. And Brian will be talking to you soon. The election's coming up in May, so it's time to get active really quickly, and let's try and get a pro-cannabis mayor in Denver.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Thank
All right.
you guys for your time.
Thanks, Brian. Boom. How was that? Okay. I didn't know how long that joke was going to go on. Sorry. Oh, nobody ever has a joke, and so yeah.
I've got a really quick one, but you got to set up for it.
Okay, I'll wait until I forget what I was thinking about earlier, and then I'll ask you if you got a joke. So Jim Barry from Mile High Cleaners, also known Miles High. I'm sorry, Miles High.
Mile High Cleaner.
Mile High Cleaner.
There's a cleaner down on the corner called Mile High Cleaners, but we actually make a resin remover for cannabis.
Resin remover for cannabis.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually quite a bit different than everything else that people have been using. Are you familiar with like the isopropyl alcohol that most people end up using?
Yes.
Yes.
And that is a very good compound for what you know. It works a lot better than anything else, and it's a lot cheaper than the things that are out there, like Formula 420 and Grunge Off and things like that. The unfortunate part is it's a solvent and a VOC. And solvents... And
what's a VOC?
VOC stands for volatile organic compound. You've probably heard it mentioned a couple of times. Low VOC paints, low VOC adhesives, low VOC carpeting. These are all important because they're typically used inside a home, which contributes to poor indoor air quality. Not only is the VOC itself hazardous to your lungs, it actually damages the alveoli, it's particularly bad for old people and young children. Well, that's really bad when you take a brand new house and set your infant baby to crawl across the floor where these VOCs are actually forming. Unfortunately, it doesn't even stop there. Those VOCs, when they go up into the atmosphere in sunlight, they mix with the nitrogens in the atmosphere and form what's called ozone. And this is another form of air pollution, and it's more associated with outdoor air quality. And in realistic terms, I mean, there was no ozone problems 100 years ago. It has all been because of the petroleum industry. Well, petroleum is what is who manufactures the isopropyl alcohol you've been using, and it is very similar to like gasoline and things like that. So it's a solvent. It breaks down those tars and stuff, but there's a few issues associated with it. Now, right now in the United States, we don't have a huge ozone problem, but you have definitely seen those markers on the highway where it states ozone alert today. Well,
they have it on the news
all the time. And what's going on with that is it's actually gotten so bad that it's affecting, like I say, old people, young people, people with vitamin deficiencies like D and E, and also people that have a genetic disposition to it. Now, all of this combines together to the point where in 2017, nobody died from cannabis, but 1 million people around the world died from ozone. Well, most of that was in foreign countries, but if you figure 100 years ago we had no pollution problem and now we have ozone alerts, it's only another few years before we're actually at the point where places like Hong Kong and Shanghai that have terrible pollution, well, we're going to be there. I mean, you look at Los Angeles and places like that, sometimes Denver on a bad inversion day, things like that. Yeah, there's some heavy-duty pollution, and that's the kind of stuff that is actually causing respiratory failure and all kinds of other health issues for a lot of people.
You know all these big wind turbines that we put everywhere? I mean, a turbine and a generator are pretty much the same thing. It's just whether you're driving current to it or you're
harvesting from it.
So what if you just turned on all these fans around here and blew all this smog out of here every now and then?
Well, in reality, it would actually work to an extent, but it's a continual process. So when we're talking about that kind of formation of VOCs, which contribute to the ozone that goes ahead and does it, it's happening in such an abundant rate in big cities that yes, you push it off to the side, and here Kansas have some of this. Unfortunately, it also affects vegetation. So now you're pushing it out into the croplands. So especially for younger infancy crops and things like that, they can be devastated by severe ozone. So yes, pushing it around would do something, but it generally is just passing the buck down the stream.
Yeah, it'd be better to just not make as much of it to begin with.
Exactly, and that's why
I'm just saying those could be fans. Think about it.
I've always thought that a big cooling tower that had fans that blew actually blew upwards, that filtered through water at the bottom as it pulled, it'd be like a big bong.
Yeah.
And it just blew the air straight up, and it's sucking it from the bad layer here and actually pushing that ozone up towards where it really needs to be. Because what we're talking about is tropospheric
That's
ozone.
interesting. Yeah.
As opposed to going up to the stratospheric ozone higher. Yeah.
That's very interesting. I used to, just one last thing about ozone. I could swear that it couldn't have been more than, say, 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. I had a little fan, like a desk fan, that, that's our next door neighbor's a drug company. They've got a pill press that runs off of an air compressor, and I kid you not, it kicks on reliably right about now every Thursday.
Yeah.
It and then maybe later we'll hear this when they turn that machine on. You can hear this high pitch. It sounds like a dentist drill. But anyway, I think I had a little fan on my desk that you had a button that you could push where it would generate ozone. I was blowing ozone on my own face.
Well,
it smelled great, but it turns out ozone's free radical.
And that's kind of the thing, when you think about it, a VOC is actually created from the cannabis itself. That fragrance that you love,
yes,
that is a VOC.
Yeah.
So it is the combination of all of them. Now, personally, I wouldn't want to give up that one, but I'm more than willing to give up isopropyl alcohol.
Yes, definitely.
If I can switch out something, that's the reason why everybody's going to electric cars. Not that it's actually going to be better for the planet because of all the batteries and stuff like that, but what it is trying to do is limit the use of fossil fuels. Not only is it a limited product that we're going to run out of eventually, but every time we burn something or do that kind of stuff, that is when we end up creating these vapors. But those vapors come from a lot of sources. Not only but think about it. The amount that they're worried about is actually, if you've ever pumped gas in California, they have that extra little nozzle.
Yeah.
It is there specifically to gather that vapor. 10-gallon gas tank, that's only the size of a 10-gallon aquarium. That's the amount they're worried about getting loose in the atmosphere. So they've actually required that those extra nozzle pieces be on everything.
Is the smell of coffee a VOC?
I don't know, but I would imagine it is probably not as bad as most, because what we're talking about is volatile organic compounds, and really the coffee bean is not necessarily volatile on its own.
I can certainly smell coffee, especially when you go to especially when you go to a coffee shop and they're using these great big steam machines to blow heated
steam and water.
Steam. It heats up plant material and puts it into the air. I would go so far as to call it an electronic smoking device under House Bill 1076. But is that
it creates a vapor?
Well, if terpenes are vapors,
and that would be, and there's a big classification difference. I mean, when I think of isopropyl alcohol and like acetone, I always thought acetone was more toxic. Well, the way they first made isopropyl alcohol was by pouring acetone over copper plates in the year 800. That was the first known of doing that. And it's a slight chemical change. The big difference is isopropyl alcohol has VOCs that are contributing to the ozone. Acetone doesn't. I'm not recommending you use acetone. It has all kinds of other issues, though.
Right.
There's all kinds of problems. All of those kinds of things, like, if you look at your original bottle of Formula 420, it says made with natural ingredients. Well, turpentine's made from pine tree needles.
Yeah.
That's extremely natural. And when you look at it, you can tell it's almost exactly the same kind of product as isopropyl alcohol. Slight variation, you drink either one of them, you're going to the hospital, you pour that kind of stuff out willy-nilly, you're going to ruin the planet. And that's part of the problem. It's
very
another
interesting.
VOC. Yeah. So, and they're all around us. You know, that's part of extraction and doing everything. We have VOCs coming out everywhere. Again, like I say, it's which would you rather get rid of? Those good flavorful ones that you're getting out of your plant, or those toxic ones that you smell from your gas tank, or from
I'll tell you what, if
isopropyl
they start banning flowers because they emit VOCs
Yes.
called terpenes, I'm just not. Trust me,
it's time to, you know.
I'm gonna do things involving a crop duster. That's all I can say.
There you go.
Did you know that in the state of Kansas, it is currently not allowable to? This is my understanding based on a phone call this morning, that it is not currently allowable to plant clover or any sort of cover crop if you want to do no-till type of hemp planting.
You can't even plant.
You can't plant a cover crop. Imagine this: like you plant a field of hemp, 2,200 plants in an acre, little seedlings, right? You put them like every 4.5 feet, and
Grow.
but then you are going to have all these weeds, and unlike the food that they keep feeding us, you can't spray all these chemicals on this hemp, because we're not buying it. We're not buying the results of that. If that's what's one of the beautiful things about hemp. But if you wanted to like plant a bunch of clover, so it would sprout up and out and just keep the sunlight off the weeds, the would-be weeds, can't do that.
Really?
And isn't that a shame? I don't know.
That doesn't even make any sense.
This isn't questions for the show. This is my questions for the Kansas Department of Agriculture. Like, another question I have is, what if I just plant it in the pattern of a maze? Is that also not allowable?
We got.
I left voicemail for this regulator named Scott. Also, what if we since you banned mazes, you didn't ban crop art? What if I get Stan Hurd to come? I could talk him into making some kind of design out of hemp. And we know that it's not going to be efficient to harvest it like that, but you never know. Maybe you'll do something a little bit different, and you'll learn something that could help you in other ways, which you might want to do if you're, running a pilot program for hemp. And speaking of pilots, I have several crop duster questions. Number one, why can't I plant clover with the crop duster? Why can't you have a cover crop? But also, if right now, if I were to set foot on that land to do, I don't know, planting or how about spraying a non-toxic type of chemical or fertilizer or something on the plants, if I do it with a crop duster, do I have to get fingerprinted? And then, those are pretty much all my questions right now. But also, why are only 12 of 50? You're supposed to have certified seeds, and only 12 of 50 strains are ayahuasca certified right now. Doesn't make any sense. And also, most of those strains are not useful. But anyway, sorry for that, Kansas. Now I've gotten Kansas out of the way. Could you tell us what? So you have a product then that doesn't emit VOCs?
Correct. As a matter of fact, my product is odorless, tasteless, inert, antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal. It actually does everything that you want to have isopropyl alcohol do by killing the germs and bacteria, but does it by being an inhospitable environment. I'm not trying to go out there and kill that bacteria, because bacteria is actually good for us. And the more we try and kill it, the more it's going to adapt and come back harder. So the whole idea is make it to where the bacteria doesn't want to be there, to where the germs can't survive, to where the fungus cannot survive. That is the right way to kill germs and bacteria. The fact that it's odorless is quite a big step as well. And it's kind of a different formula. I did a lot of thought on this, and it's based on plant-based oils. So it's plant, fruit, and nut oils. So if you are allergic to things like nuts and stuff like that, don't go for this. But it is it works on polar attraction and encapsulation. Now, basic encapsulation theorem states that any two compounds that come together and can mix, one will be dominant over the other one and dictate how it reacts in the environment. A good example of that is actually isopropyl alcohol. We know that water can't burn, but if you have water in your gas tank, you can buy a product called heat, which is 99% isopropyl alcohol. You pour that in your tank, it is dominant over the water and says, I can burn, and I'm taking this water with me. So it works pretty much the same way. The Mile High Cleaner is dominant over the resin, and it changes it on that base level to where it is no longer sticky. You just wipe it or wash it away. It's really that simple. So, how about I do a little bit of demonstration for you?
Do that.
Well, I've got some stuff here, and this is a piece of plastic, and this is the pipe I was using yesterday, and I'm going to take just a little bit of resin out of here. Let's see if I can smear this on. Okay, so that's pretty bad. That looks gross. And the way I can tell you that this is a very cost-effective formula is the fact to clean this off, I'm going to put one single drop on there. Now that drop, as you can tell, takes it right off. I mean, that was quick and easy and simple. But guess what? Even taking that off, the amount left on my finger is still more than enough to take out all
So this is all non-toxic plant oils.
I've seen him put it in his mouth.
Would you use it as a tincture base?
Not really. It is not meant to be that direction. And actually, some of the product that's in there, some have used in tincture. It's a combination of oils that is meant to break down all 5 kinds of resin, anywhere from the oily stuff out of the butt of a joint to the crusty stuff around the rim of the bowl. And so some of our formula is actually based in what has been used as a carrier for some different forms. But in reality, we've got some very expensive oils in there as well. So it's not the best solution for that kind of thing. However, after just seeing that, what the heck?
See?
Oh,
Did that come out on camera very well?
I hope so.
If not, I'll try it again.
Yeah, if he's willing
Oh,
to do
sure
that.
enough.
Yeah.
What's it taste like?
Nothing. It literally is odorless and tasteless. Now, most of the time, we only taste 4 things on our tongue. Our nose is actually what fills in everything else that makes it that nice stuff. Give it a sniff. Nothing.
Yeah, I can't smell anything.
Yeah.
Oh, I know it doesn't.
Yeah, you've used it plenty of times before.
I have. I use it for a lot of household greasy, grimy stuff.
Well, and that's kind of one of the things I wanted to show you. This is a coffee pot. It was washed earlier, and I'm going to take a paper towel here and kind of fold it up a little bit and put just a little bit of the formula. Come on. Oh, that's way too much. Way too much. Okay. So now I'm going to take this and do a single wipe, and let's see what ends up coming out. I can't tell a damn thing. Hang on. I don't see where I hit it. I must not have hit it very well. Okay.
Sorry, we're not appropriately lit for you actually seeing what you're doing. We're
So
just
that was
we're
just
lit
the
to look good.
coffee that was on the interior there. So that was after full wash of the other day. So now I take it back and give it another wash, and this will be back to exactly the crystalline look it had the first day I got it. So on other things, this is actually my cleaning tray, and if you see that, you can see it's, I don't know if you can tell,
It's very
the background.
cloudy.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah,
you can
so
see it.
yeah, just to
Here,
give
how
you
about this? Put it in
in front of a black thing, something dark.
better than that. Put that behind it, and then
Is that? That's kind of wild. Can you see it?
no, actually, it works
that's
better without the green thing.
Okay, that was fun though. Anyway, I'm gonna do. This has got dust on it too, but you can tell it's kind of crusty all over. And again, it's just a single dollop on there, and I'm just gonna rub this back and forth, and you won't be able to see, feel what they're feeling, but I'm going to have them wipe their hand across this from where it starts to where it finishes, and let's see, do it close to the mic. Just scratch a finger, maybe. I don't know if it'll make any sound. I don't know. Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about I have a guitar pick?
Completely. Oh yeah, that was that. Actually,
How about this? How about this little
see if that'll do
tip?
it. It's like that old commercial they used to do where they had the shaver and the credit card.
That's about the best I can do.
And you can't, it's hard to see on this again, but this side is actually crusty and this side is quite clean. So different stuff, huh?
Does it get off the keef off your fingers after you roll a joint?
It actually is made to work on every form of cannabis stickiness, from grow all the way up to extraction. So we're right now private labeled by 7 different companies. So if you've tried Green Bros Trimmers Cleaner, that's actually our formula, as well as Tom's Tumbler Trimmers. The trimmer store up in Arvada also private labels our product. If you've ever used the twisty glass blunts, it's called the glass blunt. It's like a corkscrew that goes inside a glass tube.
Yeah. I just showed it.
They actually private label our product as well. So a number of places out there, that's kind of one of the biggest forms of flattery, is not only did they use our product and think, yeah, we need this for our machines, but let's go ahead and risk our name on it and go ahead and private label this. So.
Well, I use it. I mean, waterproof mascara. It will damage so many things and get and when you pulled the tari out of your one hitter, that stuff gets on my nails.
Oh yeah.
And nothing gets it off except alcohol in this cleaner.
Yeah.
But I don't have to worry about it like you were talking about, what was it, acetone.
Right.
Yeah, I can't use acetone or anything like that. So
because it's toxic to you?
Yes. Well, no, and it will melt my nails. So.
Well, that's it's toxic to me. What the heck? I don't care about that. But those nails, I'm telling you.
You were gonna melt my nails. That's serious. Or discolor them or whatever, and that just gets it off. But I've used it, I was telling you earlier, on my glass top.
Oh,
you
yes.
know? And there's a lot of things. I think I probably used it up on household things.
Oh, wow. I got to set you up with more. That's fantastic. Oh, man.
Well, I mean, I have a son that fixes my car, and, the greasy fingerprints you can take just a little bit and just rub it on there and just wipe it off.
Boom. It's
gone.
As long as it's not a porous material, it'll work on plastic, acrylic, laminate, paint even. It takes everything off and won't damage the surface. So I appreciate that. You really use it a lot. I appreciate that.
One thing I want to try it for is, how the Pyrex baking pans, they never stay pretty.
They get that crusty
Yeah, they get
look.
that crusty. I want to try it on that.
So what you're going to find is that it is going to be part of what happens with the glass kind of stuff that gets scratches in it. Okay, so it's scratches and hard water. So those are the two things. So we talked a little earlier about using vinegar for the hard water, but the scratches, what you find is it actually coats in there to the point where, yes, it makes them look better, but the scratches will still be there. However, when you pull it out, you're going to find that, wow, you got a heck of a lot more of the stuff off of it too. So,
Right.
Yeah, good deal.
I just want to get the burnt on crud off of it, from last year's lasagna.
Last year's? Wow.
Well, I mean, this, if you know what I'm with Pyrex, it just makes that film over it, of any kind of grease that just, you either have to scrub really hard with a SOS pad to get it off.
Yeah.
So you've got some kind of kit that you have scrubby things in it.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I actually wanted to mention that, I was kind of fooling people because the reality is nobody can ever scrub like we did here. So what good is it having something like that if you can't actually get in the bong? And that's why I have this particular tool. This is called a Cannamag, and it is a rare earth magnet. with a wand that's
Rare
an even
earth.
bigger magnet, and you can actually use it to scrub the interior of your bong.
So it comes with the scrubber and this?
Yes, as well as a very tiny little smaller piece that is for really tight places.
Tell you what, this thing, wait, this right here, I'm sure a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. You got a beaker with the stir bar in it, right? And you got to get that, retrieve that stir bar. And at first I would use another stir bar, but then I thought, man, I want to get a magnet that's like super powerful to get that out of there. But it's so powerful, it takes like leverage to get it off of whatever it's stuck to. And this would be perfect for stir bar retrieval. And then you can just drag that magnet around. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a smart
Thank you.
idea. What I have,
Thank you.
here's check this out. I just had that fired up. Where'd it go? There. Look at this
That's
piece of
enough to
glass right here.
Pull the bong around. Wow, that is, I see the infinity, the Mobius
This
strip
is a
action.
Klein bottle. I've got one of these, acmekleinbottle.com. This is 2 Mobius strips that are melded together. And this little junction right here is like supposed to be in the 4th dimension. So it's the one thing that we can't truly represent what that really is, but that's 2 Mobius strips joined together and turned into a Klein bottle. And they have Klein bottle wine bottles.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But the guy there's a guy named Cliff Stoll. If you don't, it's an interesting video. Look up Klein bottles on YouTube. Cliff Stoll. But I want to hook you up with that guy because
that'd be the way to clean that bottle.
That would be the way to clean that bottle.
It's almost
for
impossible
sure.
any other way. A lot of shaking going on there, if not.
Yeah.
And that has to be a nightmare to build. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Imagine.
He has in his house, underneath his house, he has like a little 3.5 foot, 4 foot tall warehouse like under his house, and he has a robot that goes and gets everything for him.
Oh, nice.
It's a very interesting. I'm telling you, you should know this guy. You should send him that.
I will send him the Cannabis.
And then tell him that Travis said, "See, I told you could make a bong out of it."
Oops. See if I can do that. That's actually the kit right there with the Cannabis.
So it comes with the cleaner.
That comes with the cleaner. There's enough in that bottle of cleaner to actually clean a bong 50 times using the right tools. And this is the deluxe kit. It has all the right tools. So not only does it come with the Canamag in there, as you see, but it also comes with all of these other brushes for virtually every aspect of it, including a 16-inch long double-ended bong brush. So this gets pretty much all the spots you wanted to get as easily as you're going to get them. Also a pipe brush, a vape brush, and a mid-size for doing stems and bowls. So pretty much everything you'll need for all the cleaning. And we actually took it a step farther, and I gotta tell you, I'm not a cleanly person. I am a slob, but I enjoy a clean bong. But I enjoy clean hits as well, and a lot of times I enjoy a lot of dabbing and stuff like that. Well, one of the problems that I ended up having was dripping dabs on my jeans. So I had a couple of pair of jeans that were ruined, and I came up with this formula, which is dab drops, and that is for cleaning dabs from fabric.
Now that's a product system.
Yes, this actually is a 2-part formula. So you have the black cap bottle is the dissolve formula, and it will dissolve the dab. Then the other bottle is the break up formula, and that breaks up the entire stain from there. It works fantastic, works on everything from denim to silk. And we do have a little bit of issue with really heavy wool, but that's kind of the rare thing to find nowadays is heavy wool. But a lot of times with
Did you say it works on hemp though?
it will work on hemp fabric, yes. Yes, quite very easily, no problems.
So you don't get that ring of the oil stain.
Right. A lot of times people will end up trying again things like the isopropyl alcohol or some other solvent to break down that little stain. And what you typically find is that it immediately moves out into a larger circular pattern, distributes a real fine little ring of black, and has a different color all the way up to the still visible stain.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so typically all it's done is it's dissolved it, gone out and evaporated and left most of it behind.
Right.
So unless you're really willing to soak that thing in massive amounts of isopropyl alcohol and all the problems that we've talked about previous to this, really this is the only other product that takes out stains at all. And it, if you go on to milehighcleaner.com, I've actually got a video of me doing not just the piece of silk, but also the ink that I wrote on it, test, and then took the word test out too. You know, so yeah, it works on every level. It's
Do you sell it by like the industrial size?
Actually, that's part of the whole thing. Is we go anywhere from the next size up bottle from our 2-ounce bottle, which again is enough to clean a bong 50 times, is the 8-ounce bottle, and that is it's about twice the amount, but you get 4 times the product. And then we have the quart and gallon and 5-gallon pail. As a matter of fact, Live Well uses us by the 5-gallon pail.
Really?
They usually buy one once a month. Yeah. You know, it's like I say, it works really well. And if you think about how big Live Well is, a 5-gallon pail is minuscule. I mean, they still do a final wipe with their isopropyl alcohol, and it's all part of the requirements. But they use this to wipe down their trimming tables that get sticky as can be, and all those different.
Yeah,
places.
I was going to ask about like harvesters, harvesting machines. You're going to get
like Greenbrow's trimmers. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're a plate-on-plate kind of slanted box type of thing. You put your bud in there, and this plate goes over another plate, and you got holes in between them, and they slice off as they go. And they're one of the ones that private label us. So one of the other style is the tumbler trimmer, or the Trammel style, and Tom's tumbler trimmer is another one that private labels us, and they have the acetate bag kind of thing, and it's kind of you can pretty much see the whole action. It's got kind of this fabric bag that the fabric grabs the sugar leaves and kind of rips them off. So it's a little nicer for the thing. Instead of tumbling until they finally break off, which is what usually happens, this one, the fabric kind of hooks onto those little things and kind of pulls them off. Anyway, they were having big issues with the fact that they have a zipper that goes across the entire top of the bag, and within the second time it was used, it would jam up, and they couldn't even get the zipper going.
Yeah.
So they use our product. It's literally like 2-3 drops along the entire zipper, and there it goes. Works great. There's actually another company called Puke and Beagle Bongs that they have a rotator inside the bong, that as you take a hit, it's kind of like one of those aquarium pump kind of things where it kind of rotates around. After the 5th hit, it would jam up because of resin, and you have to clean your bong. So they end up using us for the other way that our product works, and that is actually as a preventative. You've heard of other products such as Peace Water or Res Block. Now, Peace Water is a product that is, from what we can tell, it's an oil that has carbonated water mixed with it. And what that does, it makes for a kind of a thicker water, and you pour it into your bong and smoke through it, just like you would smoke through my product, because it's odorless and tasteless. Theirs is also all natural, can't harm you, you can drink it kind of stuff. But you smoke through it, and it's thicker, so it never lets the resin ever get to the side of the bong. Okay, so it prevents resin in that way. Well, it's $14 for a single bottle, and that single bottle would fill this bong one time. So $14 to prevent resin from sticking in that bong, and you'd rinse it out again the next day. The res block is actually one where you use like 10 drops. And what they did is they took the plant triglycerides, which is basically the main components of mine, is different chain length triglycerides. And they stripped those triglycerides out. And when you do that, it kind of looks like tapioca. It's not pretty. So they had to add back in fruit juice enzymes and citric acid to go ahead and make it smooth. Well, that's kind of foreign contaminants to me. I mean, I don't know about you, but I heard my dentist say the citric acid from eating fruit is enough to erode my teeth. Well, I don't think I want to be smoking through it every day for the next 30 years. But one of our...
you said you have 5 ingredients, or you have 5 different things, and you use different triglycerides. And so like MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, and clarified coconut oil, that's an example of... So now I'm...
Tracking with what's happening.
Now I got you. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you use different lengths of these, and they had to be, meet the criteria of the formula, which is the odorless, tasteless, inert, antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal. And that was the whole thing about it. So whereas this formula is kind of a all of that direction, it's a broad range or broad spectrum kind of cleaner. That was where this one, the most expensive oil out of all of them, it was the one that broke down the resin on the fabric. So this is actually to the far spectrum of concentrates and isn't made for more of the tars and burnt plant matter that regular cannabis would have from smoking. So yeah, that is actually it. And so res block, they work by you put 10 drops in your bong and it prevents resin. Ours works the same way. It's 1 drop per inch of bong. That's about a 12-inch bong, 12 drops. The difference is they have a half ounce for $20. Mine is 2 ounces for $12. So it's much more cost effective. And in a direct competition, retail, in a direct competition between our product and res block that was done by an independent reviewer, he found our product worked better just on a flat, he deemed it worked slightly better than the res block. And then, of course, the fact that it's like 50% cheaper, that's huge, and it's still 1 drop per inch. I mean, there's 1,000 drops in here. So that's basically, about 90 days of keeping that clean every single day by just rinsing it out. And it will rinse out to the point, this one's pretty crusty. It's got water stains and all kinds of stuff in here. Yeah. And, you let them go to the point where they're dried out and stuff like that, well, they're going to have problems. It's going to take me, maybe about 10 minutes to clean that thing. But my regular bong, I get my regular bong done basically in about a minute. And it costs about 25 cents worth of cleaner. So once you get used to it, and use it the way it's supposed to be used, it's an extremely efficient formula.
You know what would be awesome?
What's that?
Is to start with this. Start with this and the magnet, the neodymium magnet on the inside, and then have this be like a kind of a cross between a Roomba and like a little tiny bug, so that you could just automatically go crawl around and do that.
Oh, geez, that's funny. I like that.
That would be an awesome ad. You could have it. You could put paint in the bottom of it and then have it go paint the inside with just to show the tracking pattern. Yeah. Like, come on, all you! Funny. I need a robot guy to call me. I need to make a robot.
That'd be a tiny robot
called,
too.
Well, first I need a giant robot called He Who Walks Between the Rows, and it goes through hemp fields and it eradicates all the males with a laser or a knife or a combination, a hot knife sound, something like that.
Even steam would work. All of the above. I always like the fact that can just sit there and hang off of there.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it's perfect for stir bar retrieval.
Yeah.
I guess if it was capped on the end, it's nearly perfect. It's better than the monstrous thing that I've got right now. It's too strong. Yeah. I'm waiting to break like a 4-liter beaker with it.
Well, I like this. That was just my water again. how long this is when you get it out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I tried to use a baby bottle brush.
It's always got plastic jams in there, you know.
So what's this go for retail? The
Okay,
big
so
kit?
so the big kit is $40 retail, and you can buy that online at milehighcleaner.com. That comes with free shipping, by the way. We free shipping at $20. We also have the Cannamags. Now this is $25 by itself, and though it is great by itself, there's always things that you will need to have brushes for, and we have also got a separate
There's
kit.
a couple of them there brushes right now.
Yeah, exactly. And this is a full range of all sizes that we have, and it comes with a bottle by itself, and that's $20.
Yep.
So this is really specifically for pipes. This is really specifically for bongs, but this is really your total toolkit, the one that's supposed to be happening. I was doing that wrong to the whole spot.
No, I swithed it at the last second.
Okay.
You can feel free to do it again.
It's,
That's my
no problem. Just to give you an idea, though, we actually do have all the different cleaners available, the tools that you need to make it work. And that one's really kind of cool because, 16 inches long, that's hard to fit into any box.
Because here's what a bottle brush would be like to here. And like you showed it, when you're going to get all the way down into there.
You can keep going, and it's
that tight spot, and you can actually do something
and
with
you can
it.
bend that and get it around to it, or go in through
Right.
the. Oops, you got it.
When did you start? When
Actually,
did you start this?
1/1 of 15 is our official start
Okay.
date. So we've been around a little while. That's
Yeah.
why we have the 8 different companies that private label us and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it very easy
Yes,
to
it
get
does.
around. And really, the brush is the workhorse. I mean, it's great to have the Cannamag, but when you're talking about a Cannamag that gets a small spot, you don't want to use that going up and down here, but you can use that brush and you're done.
So how would I do it? Would I put it on the brush, or would I put hot water in it, or?
What you really want to do is get it hot first. Heat is really your friend. Not only will it help rinse out
hot?
these chunks, well, typically most people keep their tap water at hot enough temperature.
Okay.
If you really want to go for it, yeah, you can use boiling and all kinds of different stuff. But typically, if you can put your hand under the hot water and it's you don't like leaving it there, that's plenty hot. I mean, I don't want it scalding. But it's typically what most people use for their hot water, just out of the tap. And you're going to want to go ahead and rinse this out. If it's been sitting for a long time, fill it way up, or even plug this and let it sit in hot water. The thing is that resin, if it's cold, you use a jackhammer and you won't get it off. But if it's starting to melt a little bit and you can get that gooiness in it, that's when it's actually going to start breaking up very quickly under the formula. What you do is you squirt in a little bit. This one, I'd probably, being the first time it's been cleaned in a while, I'd probably do about 30 drops. And take the Cannamag and drop it in and scrub the interior, coating it all. Just drag the magnet through every bit of it. Where did I put that magnet? Anyway, there it is. So it is one of those things that it can move.
Yeah, I think it's still in there.
Yeah, I think it is still in there now that I think about it. It can go as fast as you can move. So what you want to do is distribute it all over, and that is coated with plasticized rubber. It's not going to scratch your bong. You're just hearing little noises. But you coat it all over. Let it sit on there for a few seconds while you take the oversized bong brush, put just a couple drops in there, or there might be some right there. Go through that, you're pretty much done. This has a lot of hard water on it. That's going to take some vinegar before we get this actually clean. But that end to be done, I'd probably go down here and get whatever other spot that you can go down here, as well as this direction, anywhere you can access it from. But at that point, you've wasted another minute. You're going to go back and redo this with a little bit of detergent like Dawn. And once you scrub over that, you're going to find that it just melts right off. It's that quick.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It makes sense.
Oh, I forgot what else it works on. With my cast iron, it leaves round circles in the bottom of the cabinet. I've got to put like a plastic or something underneath there. But I was able to get my circles up.
Oh, it took out the kind of rusty thingies that
It
happen?
was a greasy, grimy, on the bottom of the cast iron,
The spot you never wash because, it doesn't need it.
Right,
and it might get a little bit on there, but, you really don't want to do much to cast iron. You don't really want to get detergents around it.
And you always oil it.
Yes.
When you get finished, so it's going to be oily. So, but it had a nice brown tarry little ring, and that's what I used on it. Yeah, I love that around the house.
So you can get it. You've been around, since 2015. So how many stores are you in now?
Well, that's kind of funny. I've got to say that around Denver, we're not in many. And
that's the same thing with us. You're in Lazy J's on
Alameda.
On Alameda. So are we. Go to Lazy J's. Check them out.
I like the pipe joint down on Coal Mine and Wadsworth. They're there. We're over at Dabs or Us at Kipling and on Colfax, almost to Kipling. We're in a number of places, but in reality, the saturation level is kind of minor. Rusty Smoke Shop but the whole big problem is there's been a lot of salesmen that come through Denver trying to sell their products. And a lot of these places are getting called on 1,000 times a week, and they're just dumping the emails because they're being pestered way too much. So Denver being the Mecca, I'm not sure it's the best thing in the world. As a matter of fact,
focused our attention elsewhere pretty early on. Only now, just through, existing here long enough. I mean, now we're starting to get more stores in Denver. But
it's amazing. You go up to Greeley, Fort Collins, and that area, and we're in 80% of the stores.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, it's all it takes. I mean, if you can see the product work and in action, it's like it's stunningly good. I mean, I can't even. There are days after 5 years after creating the formula, I still have hair on my neck rise because it's like, wow, that was incredible. That really worked. So it takes going and getting the right stuff the first time and making sure that it is the product that you need and that you want. I mean, if you think about it, why would you even like isopropyl alcohol? I mean, do you like the fact that it dries out your hands? Do you like the fact that it, irritates your eyes, nose, and throat, makes you dizzy, woozy, gives you headaches? Well, those are only the minor things that are wrong with that product. As a matter of fact, if you ever get a chance, this is the New Jersey Department of Health Right to Know fact sheet on isopropyl alcohol. In here, it states the 8 different government agencies that list it as hazardous, including EPA, OSHA, and the International Agency for Research on Cancer. So this is definitely not the stuff you want to have hanging around. They say contact can irritate, burn the skin and eyes. Prolonged repeated contact can cause skin rash, itching, dryness, and redness. Can irritate the nose and throat. Repeated exposure cause headaches, dizziness, confusion, loss of coordination, unconsciousness, and even death. But this is the thing that got me. The following chronic long-term health effects can occur at some time after exposure to isopropyl alcohol and can last for months or years.
Oh, jeez.
The many solvents and other petroleum-based chemicals have been shown to cause such damage. Effects may include reduced memory and concentration, personality changes, withdrawal, irritability, fatigue, sleep disturbances, reduced coordination, and/or effects on the nerves supplying internal organs, the autonomic nerves, and/or nerves to the arms and legs, causing weakness in pins and needles. May affect the liver and kidneys.
Now, if you had all those symptoms, your doctor isn't going to go, oh, I wonder if you were exposed to isopropyl alcohol.
Or any VOC like that.
That sounds like MS.
Yeah.
You
And how do you actually know when you're suffering through those kinds of things? Everybody has sleep disturbances. Mm-hmm. Everybody has issues. The way I realized it was I had used isopropyl alcohol. This is about 5 years ago when I first started smoking again. I used to sell furniture to the federal government and couldn't risk my job, so
right.
I didn't smoke for 32 years. So I started smoking, and I used some of the solvent, and I went over to work at my keyboard and answer some email. And I realized that I was making 10 times the amount of keyboard mistakes because my hands weren't going where they were supposed to.
Interesting.
Because it's a central nervous system depressant. You're losing some of the signals to your fingers, and they're not happening in the order that you wanted them to happen.
Right.
So yeah, I've made tons of mistakes, really bad. They have in here spill and leak disposal procedures, and it's a blank page. Isn't that funny? But the basis is do not wash into sewer, and is dangerous to aquatic life at high concentrations. Well, what is high concentrations for isopropyl alcohol? If you think about it, like the hairspray that might have ISO, that's only got a few drops in it. I mean, if you go through the list, and there are many different alcohols in there, isopropyl comes down at 2/3 of the way down. That means it's a small amount. I mean, they go by most to least. And so there might only be a few drops or, a thimbleful inside an entire bottle of hairspray. But it's the cumulative effect. Okay, well, what's the cumulative effect with cannabis? Well, the only other place that we know of that really uses a lot of ISO is the medical industry. And they only use it for one thing, and that's for that yearly flu shot to sanitize your arm before you get the shot. Well, you shouldn't really think that that's actually making it okay, because the medical industry does a lot of things that aren't okay to diagnose and to treat.
Well, they use isopropyl alcohol. Isn't that rubbing alcohol?
Rubbing alcohol.
Like they put witch hazel or
on your butt.
methyl salicylate in it, and
hemorrhoid cream.
Yeah,
they'll do a lot of different things.
Not the one with methyl. Witch hazel.
Witch hazel, yeah.
Don't
do that other one.
Don't do the methyl salicylate. You'll regret it.
So yeah, I mean, the 2 drops on your arm, one's going to go into your skin, take about 8 hours to be pulled back out by your liver and kidneys. The other drop is going to turn to vapor, and pretty much that's right around you. Well, what do we use to clean a typical bong like that? That'd take at least 2 ounces, and that's about 1,000 drops. And typically you're going to be cleaning, say, once a month. So that's 12,000 drops compared to 2 drops on your arm for your once-a-year flu shot. Pretty much, I mean, if you think about it, what else do you use ISO for in your home? I mean, nothing that I know of. I mean, you can't use it on wounds that will leave the wound ragged, just like hydrogen peroxide. They say use saline solution, that's it. And that way you have a better chance of closing the wound better. There's no other real use for it, and it's not the best stuff in the world, to say the least.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of it. And if you think about it, right now it's estimated that about 5.8% of the population worldwide consumes cannabis. And that's about 435 million people. In North America, it's somewhere over 100 million people. Well, if 100 million people clean once a month in 2 ounces of ISO, that's 2.4 billion ounces dumped yearly, which equates to about 55,000 gallons a day.
Jeez.
That then turns into that VOC that interacts and turns to ozone and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I started doing research because I needed to know about my competitors and who's the biggest competitor. And when I did, it's like isopropyl alcohol. There's very little. I mean, it's used extensively in industry, but nowhere do they pour it out. They really work at, no loss, no evaporation. We want to keep this around because it doesn't go bad. I mean, technically, the right way to use isopropyl alcohol to clean that bong, you don gloves, respirator, eyewear, because there's no home out there that has adequate ventilation to use at your kitchen sink. So you'd use it outside, still probably should use the respirator and gloves and the eyewear, because you splash it on your contact lens, that's a serious problem. And it goes into that on that New Jersey Department
I just think about all the places that it's used for sanitation.
Not as much. There's a lot more better products out there for sanitation nowadays. For you're talking cleaning and wiping and disinfecting, and there are a lot of products that do that kind of thing in a different way. So whereas ISO has been around for years and years, that doesn't necessarily mean it's good. I mean, they used to think asbestos was good. You know, it's not so good, to say the least. So.
I remember as a kid using the green kind on ant bites.
The green, with the
methyl salicylate.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
yeah,
And for achy legs, I'd watch, just rub it down and tons of it.
right. And there's actually like I went to Ahoya out on West Colfax, and I said, do you use ISO? And she looks at me, never again. I used to wash my face with it and damn near died.
Really?
Wow.
And different people are very much so more susceptible. I mean, Purdue University did a study, and they found out that some people will get a headache with one whiff. And that's it. Huh. So it all depends on the person. And if you're living next door to a guy that just cleaned his bong, that might be that whiff. Especially if you're pouring it outside, which you shouldn't do.
What's this year look like for you then? What do you picture 2019? What are all of the big things that you see Mile High Cleaner doing this year?
Well, as a matter of fact, we've got big plans. We're moving to Grand Junction for the main office because Denver has some issues, and also it's a family situation. But we are actually getting a new influx of cash, and we're going to be doing some massive advertising as much as we possibly can to get it out there to where, with help of like what you're doing here, which is fantastic, getting the word out and getting interesting things out there. I mean, this is our lifestyle nowadays. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is to actually bring the awareness around to where people can safely clean their bong and not have any other issues. I mean, we've had the pesticide issue, we've had the heavy metal scares, we've had all kinds of different things. I think we should look at all aspects of it.
Now, does alcohol leave a residue?
Okay, many people have many different ideas on this, and I have heard a number of different things. And to me, if you're talking about a product, just in the way that we were talking before about alcohol on the blue jeans where it leaves that outer ring,
Right.
you're going to have a high evaporative type of chemical that takes part of what is there with it, but some of it is still sticking no matter what. It may seem like it's completely gone, but it's not. Therefore, you should rinse no matter what. Because that's going to, get rid of it. Really, it is water soluble, so it's not really a problem as far as that goes. But if you also spilled it onto your countertop and it's a laminate countertop, well, solvents break down chains. Your laminate countertop is a polymer chain. It's dulling the finish as we speak. I mean, that's why the laminate looks all dull, is because of that.
Wow.
And there are some out there. I mean, like clear kryptonite. That's another one of those cleaners. And I actually had a sample bottle from them that fell over on my Kimball bookcase. And Kimball has some very high-end finishes. And it turns out that it ate through the finish.
Oh, wow.
So I decided to take a little card, a sample wood chip, and draw a K on it. And sure enough, it ate through to the wood in less than a day.
Wow.
So it's a paint stripper. That's what we're using, is paint strippers, and we're using them at a prodigious rate.
Do you think, so were you, at the end of 2019, then, like, what's you were sitting here with a well-established company in an industry that is only going to get bigger for quite a while, for like at least, say,
decades.
Yeah, like so what do you pass this on to your family, this business on to your family? You're going to
I'm going to make it huge.
Going to make it huge?
Yes, I absolutely think that that's the right way to go. If you figure out it's actually in the Constitution that if it's incumbent upon us, if we figure out something that needs to be fixed, we should do it. And that was kind of my whole idea, is I realized there was a problem. I can retire or I can go make this company and take it to the next level. Well, I decided to take it to the next level, to actually do something good for the planet. And I do absolutely believe that, if you're using 1,000 drops of ISO compared to 20 drops of my cleaner, there's no comparison. You're saving the planet in a very real sort of way. It isn't going to matter to me, and it isn't going to matter to most people that are sitting here listening to this, but it's going to matter to your children.
And our children's children.
Yeah. Because if you figure,
But not our children's children's children, because by then the robots are going to be taken over.
May not even make it that far.
Right.
Yeah, if you consider that, we didn't have an ozone problem 100 years ago, and we do now, what's 100 years from now going to be like?
Think about all of the electrons that get displaced in this battery in this phone, all come at the expense of heat. I mean, that's, if you want to really talk about what the difference is with our planet between now and then, God. It's we're accelerating entropy in our kind of mostly closed environment. That's what I think is. I mean, the computers are never going to let us cool this place down in any way except for technology, I guess. But
probably true. Well, I was watching.
Maybe that's what all those fans are for. They should use those fans to redirect birds around.
That'd be a trick.
Sorry, I've driven through Kansas a lot recently. It's just straight on I-70. You got plenty of time to think about those windmills. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year.
I think it is. One of the things that, the Denver Public Health and Environment actually released an entire study on how the cannabis industry should be handling their products and things like that. And that was actually quite an eye-opener, because there's a number of things in it. I mean, it's a fairly thorough report. Obviously, they had some issues on the VOCs, and they actually called for us to limit the use of that. But I think there's been quite a bit of Wild Wild West kind of action going on, where people are testing out the industry and seeing what is new, what works, and hopefully getting rid of what doesn't. I mean, we don't really use the butane extracted concentrates anymore. We figured that out. What is the next thing? I mean, there's a million of them. I mean, right now they're talking about the certified organic fields. Well, that requires 5 years of laying fallow. Well, 5 years of laying fallow still does nothing to mitigate heavy metals. And you never know what kind of a place you're going into. I mean, I was talking about moving to Grand Junction, and they actually used to mine uranium out in that area and used to dump it wherever, because they never figured anybody would want to live out there. It was dumped so haphazardly that the day that the sheriff's department was supposed to move into their brand new building, the EPA stopped them, told them to tear out the basement, dig out the dirt, repack in real dirt that doesn't have uranium tailings in it, and then put in your basement, and then you can move in 2 years later. So yeah, it's, what are you going to do if you're out there growing and, wow, you just happen to be growing on a uranium deposit? That there's literally a big company out there that just tracks them down.
What do you do with all of that dirt? Where does that go?
That also has to be put into a special. They packed it up in 55-gallon drums, shipped it off to a toxic waste site in another place that they thought nobody would ever live.
Right.
100 years from now, I'll bet you there's people living there.
Yeah. So. Yeah, my dad was. He did some rad waste shipping and all of that toxicity and stuff like that. It never ends.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you've seen that they put this powder on little children to give them an example of how germs are spread. They put it on one child, and then at the end of the day they put on the black light, and it's
everywhere.
Spread everywhere. Yeah, that's kind of the way that I feel about the toxicity. It's everywhere. And
Well, there's always something. I mean, like what you were saying, the global warming even is going to kill us. Won't kill me. I'll be dead by then. But the rest, that 2 degrees increase,
that's a lot.
We'll
Find out. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah. Well, I'm really hoping that the aliens come in and intervene and say, "You stupid guys."
Yeah. I wish I could play Tool right now. There's a perfect song. Arizona Bay. Learn to swim. We'll find out. I don't remember who it was, if it was somebody on a show or what, but thinking like you could build it was on Facebook. Somebody posted you should build like seawalls instead of building a southern wall, like build eastern and western walls to try and keep the sea at bay a little bit longer. There you go. There's a good public infrastructure project.
Boy.
Yeah, well, people from Louisiana can tell you all about levees.
That's good.
Levees.
Just turn those fans on.
And part of that,
Deploy the fan.
Actually,
operation.
If you think about it, because of the way that the river delta was actually formed on there, it broke up most of the hurricanes up until the point where we started screwing with it, and then it didn't break them up.
I went to D.C. with the Homa Indians one year, and we were trying to get them to protect tribal lands in that area. And the whole thing is, if the Mississippi is allowed to flood and to deposit that silt, and that's what kept it going. And they came in and they built all of these channels, to try to control that river. And what they did was they ended up losing all the land.
Yeah, and you try and control nature, you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I wish I could play Blue Oyster Cult. History shows again. Sorry.
Oh, Godzilla! Wow.
It would be awesome to have just like a keyboard where, like, I have all of these things that are all rights cleared, and I could just fire it up and play.
Yeah, you hit the right button at the right time.
This could be the year that happens.
That would be fun. Yeah.
No.
Well, I gotta call the Kansas Department of Agriculture here pretty soon.
And you have a whole list of things to ask them. Thank you. First of all,
Yeah,
thank you for seeing the need and developing this product.
Thank you.
Having a good, clean product, that's so important. And especially if you're trying to eliminate your carbon footprint or your toxic footprint. So first of all, thank you for an awesome, clean product that we're not going to have to lock up. Grandkids get into it, whatever.
No problem. They make a little mess, and that's about it.
Yeah. And thank you for coming in. And we're going to miss you being up in Grand Junction. We're not going to be able to see you at all the events and stuff like.
I'll be coming down.
Yeah, well, you need to.
Yeah, there are some you can't miss, and I got to be hitting them better. So.
Are you going to NOCO?
When is that?
March 29th.
Yeah. And all of this is happening to the point where I'd just be moving out there.
Yeah. You'd have
so
to
it
turn
might be a
around and come right back.
little crazy. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just setting up the whole office is always a big hassle.
Well, yeah, and now that you have 2 salespeople, one in Oregon, and where's the other one?
He's in Virginia, about an hour south of the capital. So he'll be calling on all those guys. It's legal there, so.
Yeah. Well, get you some weed wipes and use it around the house.
Mile High Cleaner.
Mile High Cleaner.
Yeah, Weed Wipes was our original name.
Yeah,
so
that's where I'm stuck on it.
That's how we know we're old school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and if you still got some of the weed wipe stuff, that's going to be collector stuff.
I've started archiving stickers. I guarantee you I have a Weed Wipes sticker.
Actually, you have the Life's a Hit, Suck It Up sticker.
I don't know. I've got a lot of stickers.
Yeah.
I have both Can America and Americana, and I can't remember which one turned into what, but it's I've got some old school Weed Wipes stickers for sure.
A lot of things, big changes in this industry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to when it kind of figures out its true direction. I think that there's still a lot of things that people need to be working on, but at this point, it's a whole new world.
I know.
My God, I used to smoke pot that smelled like the donkey's ass that rode over on the Rio Grande. So yeah, the stuff nowadays is. Of course, you guys got me stoned before all of this, and really had a fun time.
Awesome. That's the secret.
Yeah.
That's the secret.
Oh, God. Yeah, a little blurry-eyed there, but that's okay.
I think you're doing.
You did great.
Yeah. I did a terrible job of keeping up on comments, so thank you to everybody who tuned in, and please go share this out. And I'd like to remind you that Lisa Calderon for Denver mayor would like your support, and you can contact her. This mayoral election is coming up in May. I wrote down 32 days, but I don't know if could that possibly be? Jeez.
Time's flying.
Holy crap. So anyway, and then, thanks to Jim from Mile High Cleaner for coming by and spending some time with us, telling us about VOCs.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Be more conscious of what we're doing in our homes now.
I'm going to go talk to a man about some mazes and crop dusters and clover in Kansas. But, thanks for joining, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday, if not sooner.